Hello fellow bike people, time for part 2 of the tune-up. Last time I showed you how to drop the wheels off, give the bike a quick cleaning, and inspect the frame, cables, and fork to make sure there's no major damage. This time, we're going to put the wheels back on, and we're going to go after the gears. So installing the front wheel is obviously pretty easy. You're just putting it up there, twisting the quick release a little bit, and then flipping it so the cam locks it closed safely. Most of these quick releases will have closed and open written on them, so just flip it so that the word closed is visible. And for the back wheel, it's pretty much the same thing, but I'll show you a little trick. It makes it a ton easier if you have your shifter in its highest gear, which is equivalent to the smallest cog. That way you just line the chain up with the cog and the wheel goes right up into the correct place. Watch this. So before we get to the adjustments, we're going to go on to a little bit more inspection to make sure everything's all good. You're just going to sit here, being able to line up your eye line with the chain and the cogs. Just rotate everything backwards. Make sure there's no warped gears, no warped rings, no broken links on the chain, there's no jumping. Everything's running nice and smooth. So we're going to start here with the rear derailleur. If you look on the back there, there's the two screws that have the letters L and H left to them. So the high is your high limit, so further away from the bike, the small cogs in the rear. The low limits how far it can go in towards the bike. So when we're adjusting these gears, in the default position the derailleur is going to sit in the high. So you line yourself up behind here so you can see nicely, and you adjust the high limit until those wheels are perfectly parallel with the cogs here. Once your high limit's set, now we're going to set the low limit. Before I set it, I'm going to show you what happens if it is not set correctly. So we're going to deliberately back the screw out. Do not do this. So, you can see the derailleur can get snagged on the spokes now. And if that happens at full speed, that can rip the derailleur right off the bike. So that's why setting your limits is important. So now with the bike in the lowest gear in the back, we're going to adjust that limit screw until the pulleys are parallel with the biggest cog. And now, our rear gears, pretty much perfect. And as for the front gears, it's the exact same situation, but the low is the closer to the bike and the high is the further from the bike, so it's the opposite there. So with the rear gear still in first, this should have a nice straight line to the small cog there. You're going to adjust your limit here so that it's just not touching in there, so you don't hear that noise from your chain. You want it just free in there. And now for setting the high limit here, you want to have your rear gears in their highest gear to match. And you're going to set this so that it's not rubbing on the outside, but also doesn't let the chain fall off. There we go, that's the limit set. So that should have the derailleurs set so that they can only move within a safe range. In terms of it shifting directly from one gear to the other properly, that's all done with the cable tension. So this right here, that's a barrel adjuster. That's for making minor adjustments. If your cable's way too loose, you can physically loosen this bolt, pull the cable through more and tighten the bolt back up. But for the little fine tuning, turning this counterclockwise puts a little bit more pressure on the cable. Turning this clockwise removes some pressure. So that'll allow you to fine tune how it shifts into each gear. Alright, I'm going to end the video here. Next time we're going to be looking at the brakes.